AEW week continues on Hitting the Turnbuckle. We're very privileged, actually. Bishop Khan was on Monday. He was in celebratory mood after Ricochet winning the national championship at Full Gear. But we're joined by another AEW star this time, more notably Ring of Honor, but has been in some of the most iconic groups that AEW have had in its infancy as a promotion. It is Preston Vance. Preston, welcome. How are you?
Good man, how are you?
I'm looking at the fact that you're in a vest and I'm in a hoodie in -2 over here in the
Wait,
UK.
what'd you call it? A vest?
Yeah,
We call
yeah, a
this we
vest,
call this
sleeve.
a tank top.
Yeah, tank top, vest, sleeveless ears. It depends, you
Dude,
know.
I live in Florida, man. It's 80 degrees here right now.
Yeah, can you pass some of that over here? Because it's
It's
like
awesome.
freezing. Funny enough, I was saying to Bishop Connor, I just come back from Morocco on Monday.
Okay.
Monday, I just come back from Morocco last week. We had an eventful flight. Lightning hit the wing of the plane.
Wow.
Mm. So you know when you sang a few prayers, I've never heard a cheer loud enough. And I've
Yeah.
been to a lot of wrestling, but when that plane landed, that pop was awesome. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But look, thanks for joining. I really appreciate you taking your time to come and chat all things AEW and a bit about your good self, of course. I'm going to start a bit of reverse. I want to start. Look, 2025 AEW has been huge, hugely successful. Lots of new countries have been here. I know you're coming, obviously, AEW's coming back over here in the UK. But
Mhm.
2025 for you guys in AEW has just been just, I don't think you can go any higher, really, can it?
I mean, the main thing that sticks out to me is the talent is
Mm.
off the charts. The roster is just like every show. It's like holy shit, that could be match of the year, match of the year, match of the year. Um, so it's awesome to be part of a company like that because it drives you to get better and keep up. And it's like you could by just watching the matches, you like are like learning, from like your peers and coworkers. So yeah, AEW 2025 is really cool to be a part of. I've been here since 2020, so pretty much the very beginning. And I mean, I've loved it every year, man. It just keeps getting better and better, and I never had like a bad year there. I guess like I love AEW. I'm very fortunate that I got to see it from kind of the basement floor. To see what it is now is really very cool and very inspiring.
I remember when obviously they done the first ever All In. This is not the first All In top. This is the first ever All In the UK. I'll do a side note story about that because I was meant to attend and I couldn't, and I'll go into why when we talk a bit later on. But I remember when it was announced, the excitement and everything like that. And I remember the press conference. I remember the press conference that AEW was starting. Obviously, Jericho was the big one at that time. But then we moved
Mhm.
into that first pay-per-view, and just want to talk about that quickly because I always say when promotions start, it's always, you have a lot of the people that the fans would listen. We knew the Young Bucks, we knew Kenny, we knew Cody. Obviously, Jericho was the big one. But then I suppose more bigger from the relative point of view is how he was in wrestling at the time was the debut of John Moxley to
Uh-huh.
AEW at that point. And when he come in, again, it kind of, I remember Tony Khan saying you wanted to sort of take that WCW fans that had left wrestling because of the, WCW had closed down. So he wanted to
Mhm.
bring them back. But then to add someone like John Moxley because of every what he had done previously,
Mhm.
to add that bit of, oh, I know him. I've got to start
Yeah.
watching it. Was a masterstroke, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean that was huge. And then for me personally and selfishly, it helped me a bunch because I had some of my best matches and moments with Moxley in AEW. And when Brodie came in, they feuded pretty much
Yeah.
instantly, which then puts me in that same handful of guys on TV. So uh, Moxley has whether he knows it or not, has helped my career a bunch by just being part of that. He was actually my first match ever
Was.
in AEW on Dynamite was John
Mhm.
Moxley.
Yes,
So
he was.
I got to work with him a good amount, and I was always a fan of him long before I was signed. So it was very cool like moments to be able to work with someone who you looked up to and admired.
Yeah, definitely. And adding on to that, we mentioned, AEW touring different countries now. Australia was one. Obviously, back in the UK, we were very fortunate to hit Forbidden Door this year. We were given access to the pre-show and stuff like that. We're
Hmm.
forever grateful for that. But that's the next thing. I asked Tony Khan a question in that press conference. I said to him about perhaps branching out further into the international market, and he did mention that he that was something that he was looking at doing, but obviously wants to go to different places in the countries that he's already sort of in at the moment, which is a fair and a good thing to do. But that's the next kind of thing, isn't it? It's branching into those countries. And how exciting is it for you that perhaps you may be touring, I don't know, Spain, Italy, more
Yeah.
Mexico with AEW as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome because I've never been to, I've never really been outside the country much
Mm.
until wrestling. And then when I was with Rouge and LFI, we filmed, like 2 weeks worth of stuff in Mexico City. First time I've ever been to Mexico, so it's cool. Your dream job is kind of making you go to these places where growing up I never thought I'd go. I'm from a super small town, grew up on a dirt road, and now I get to do all this, super cool shit. So yeah, I think the national or international market is huge. I mean, I did some stuff like I said in Mexico, and
Yeah.
the fans down there, they're nuts, and it's awesome, and it helps the whole industry as a whole. So yeah, I think tapping in more into the international market is, I mean, there's definitely not one bad thing I could say about it.
No, and when you're over here, you have to remember the soccer chants, right? I know Tony
Yeah,
Khan will know that, being
yeah,
he's in
yeah.
charge of Fulham and whatnot. But I'm going to tell you my quick side story before, because then we'll go into yours. So, All In, this hoodie right here was All In 2023. I didn't manage to attend it. I was meant to. I unfortunately suffered heart failure before
Oh wow.
All In. Literally, it was quite an eerie thing, actually. I will get into it briefly. 'Cause you mentioned Brodie and
Hmm.
his very good friend Wyndham Rotunda
Hmm. Hmm.
was unfortunate with his heart
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
But I had the same thing,
Wow.
and it was 3 days before he unfortunately passed away. I was basically diagnosed with it, and I obviously here to tell the tale, which is quite a
Yeah, yeah. Of
which is, I thank God every day. I like him. I've got a
course,
family,
sure.
and so I was meant to get there, and I was discharged from the hospital 2 days before All In, but I couldn't fly home. So to give you an idea, I live near Will Osprey, right? So I don't live
Okay,
far
okay,
from Will, right?
okay.
So, but my family, my mum, and my dad live right down the back end of the UK in a place called
Hmm.
Cornwall. And so I flew down, so I couldn't fly back because I wasn't allowed to fly for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Um, and I was going to get the train into Wembley, but there was a tube strike, so I couldn't get into London. So ultimately, I missed the first All In.
Oh man.
This is a prominent reminder, but
Yeah.
it goes into a bit more about you because you obviously suffer from you're suffering or still suffer from Crohn's disease, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's obviously a bit more of a different thing from me. But
Mhm.
how do you cope with that with wrestling? What is the, what, of course, the kind of dynamics with this?
So I've been very lucky with I got diagnosed very young age. I was 10 years
Mm,
old, was always in and out of hospitals trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And so now I take a treatment for it every 2 months, and I've been in remission for 17 years now,
yeah.
like completely, like my doctor's like you're like the miracle patient. And so then it really sucked growing up because I
Mm,
never knew what was going on. And then but I also think if I didn't have it, I don't think I would be a pro wrestler because
mhm,
it almost put a really big chip on my shoulder in life. Like I knew I want to be a pro wrestler, and in my mind I'm like, is this gonna affect that or stop that? So I mean, I would Google and research pro wrestlers, athletes, like anybody who has like in the same realm who has this, and I would try to find people like, well, man, if they can do it, like it would really inspire me, like I can do it. So one of the main reasons I really wanted to make it in wrestling was for my 10-year-old self, because I know
mm,
there's a kid out there right now who's the same age who's going through that same shit.
yeah.
And if they can like want to be a pro wrestler and they can look up to me who went through all of it and still like persevered and made it, it's kind of like you're the platform wrestling gives us becomes way more important than just being a wrestler. So that's like as much as it sucks having it, especially when I was a child, it's almost like I'm oddly grateful for it because I don't think I'd be who I am or work as hard as I do if I just had everything like life was perfect, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, and it just goes to show anybody if you do have that disease, it's not going to stop you living your dream. So just took a Preston right there. And funny enough, you mentioned about about being like the miracle thing. The doctors still don't know what happened, why I got it.
Wow.
That's
It's
the other
crazy.
thing. It's mad.
Scary.
It is. But to put it mildly, I went into the hospital on a Sunday, and they said that if I hadn't gone in by Tuesday, I wouldn't be here. So,
Wow.
but that's yeah. Anyway, and I tell that story way too much on this
This is
podcast,
crazy.
but It is crazy, but I wanted to start back before AEW, if
Mhm.
I may, with you, because obviously you've done quite a bit on the independent scene as well, and obviously there was Monster Factory where you had a great feud with Punisher Martinez, who we
Yeah,
now know elsewhere. But I wanted to quickly go into something from I think it was Maryland Championship Wrestling. Funny enough, it's where Bishop Khan done a lot of
yep,
his
yep.
as well. And you was it was Seasons Beatings. I think it was a pre-show match
Mhm.
back in December 2016. You were tag teaming with another AEW star, Nick Komoroto. I have to hope this name's right. When I had to pronounce Takeshita for the first time, you could imagine where it went.
Yeah,
And it's not a disrespectful thing. I'd struggle with that. But
yeah,
you were a tag team match. It was against Malcolm and his tag team partner, which I believe was Maxwell Jacob Feinstein at
yep,
the time, if memory serves me right,
yep.
which we all now know as our favorite devil himself, MJF. But look, guys, this is nearly 10 years ago when you had this match. And I know it's easy for someone to say now, yeah, I knew he was going to be that good. But cast your mind back then. Did he have all the traits of thinking, wow, this guy's going to be where he is now in wrestling?
Um, Honestly, no. I mean, so I've known him for a while because we both
Yeah.
did the indies on the Northeast. So we've wrestled, other shows and seminars and stuff like that. And um, at that moment, I don't know, but I remember there was a moment we did a Ring of Honor tryout together, and there was a match where they made me and Max a tag team, and in that moment, I was like, this kid's he's good, you know.
Yeah.
And I was always. I don't know if I was like overly confident, but I always thought like I was one of the better ones in that area too, you know. So it was like but when I tagged with him in that Ring of Honor trial, and that would have been 2017, I believe.
Mhm.
I was like, he's good. But at the MCW show, I knew him decently well at that point. It was just I didn't think too much of it because it's just like you're wrestling one of your wrestling buddies, you know.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I forgot about that match. So yeah, me and Nick versus Max, and then Malcolm was the other kid. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, incredible. And nowadays, who would have thought it, right? He's now,
right.
as I said, everyone's favorite devil
Yeah,
in wrestling. I don't know. They always say that the best characters are somewhat the characters that are very close to the person that you are. I could never guess if that's MJF in real life. I don't know. I still believe he has a soft side to him, but I will. If I ever
I
get to
mean,
speak to him, I'm probably dead if I ever get to speak to him. But we'll see. There is another feud that you did prior, and it wasn't long before the inception of AEW. This was sort of down in 2018. Had quite a feud over a period of months. I think it was like June to August. You had a succession of matches in Georgia Premier Wrestling for the Southern States Championship with QT Marshall. Now, we know how good, I mean, obviously, QT very high up in
yeah.
AEW, very well respected now. Did that kind of set the stage for you sort of going forward with him in terms of, I don't know how, we're going to talk in a minute about how you got into AEW, but did those kind of matches with QT assist you in any way?
Uh, I mean, they made me way better at strictly wrestling. I mean, he's
Mm,
he's so incredibly good to work with, and his mind is completely unmatched of anyone I've ever worked with. So I've known QT. So he was actually my first trainer, like at the Monster
mm,
Factory. So I've known him for 10 years now.
yeah.
So when I was in New Jersey, me and him, we were close, and he helped me a lot there. And then he opened his school in Atlanta. And at that time, when he opened his school, I moved back to Michigan because I tore my ACL.
Mm,
And then he called me and he said, "Hey, when you get cleared, don't give up on wrestling. I think you should move down to Atlanta. You can stay with me until you get on your feet, whatever." So, and then I moved there, stayed with him, and then worked with him every day. He would get me on those some Georgia indie promotions like the GPW we just
yeah.
mentioned, and he would always kind of pitch to work with me, and I mean, it helped me. He's done more for my career than anybody by quite a long shot. I mean, he's like my wrestling dad. He is. I can't say enough good things about QT in and out of the ring. Like, and we're like actually like legit really good friends too. But the Georgia matches I had with him helped me kind of find out who I was in the ring as far as a performer, and he was really good at like bringing it out of me. So I think that did, in a sense, set the stage. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's very. I always say there's a lot of wrestlers that you say under you or underrated, and I think he goes under the radar quite a bit just of how good he actually is.
Yes, yes. He's, in my personal opinion, he's the most underrated wrestler that I've ever worked for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He's fantastic with what I've seen of him as well over the years. So around that time, it was about a year or so later, this happened, AEW. It became a thing. Um, what point did you start to gain any sort of inkling that you may be able to get an opportunity there?
So at that point, Cody and QT were kind of becoming friends because Cody would come to the
Yeah.
school in Atlanta because he lived there. So him and Brandy would go in the ring and train and stuff. And at that point, I was just coming off of my second ACL surgery. So I was still around the school, doing rehab and stuff. And I would talk to Cody and fine. And like, I'm just not someone who's going to like be too nosy and like try to
Mm.
ask for a job. Um, and then, this was like this very start of COVID. And was doing the indies pretty heavy in 2019. Cody helped me a lot with like getting me in contact with some good indies, all over the
Mhm.
country. And then in 2020, the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
And at this point, AW has already started, like, a few months in. And I was in Michigan with my family, and QT called me and he goes, "Hey, can you make it down to Jacksonville for a dark match tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Okay." Booked a flight. I was the only person on the flight because COVID.
Yeah.
I ended up wrestling Darby, and he's another just phenomenal. Can't say
Yes.
enough. Holy shit, he's fun to work. And I wrestled him in a dark match, and it was like honestly like 70-30, like 70 me, 30 him. And they really let me like showcase myself. And then the following week, they did like 6 weeks of TV in QT school in Atlanta. And I was living there.
Mm.
So, I showed up, and that's when I met Brodie for the first time ever. And I was like kind of starstruck for one, because he just has such a presence and aura about him. He's like 6'7", big
Yeah.
beard, like just like badass dude. And I, grew up watching him on TV. He watched my match, and then he went to Cody and QT and was like, "Hey, does Vance have a deal with WWE coming up? Like, what's going on? Like, why isn't he signed anywhere?" And they're like, "Oh, he's just not, and he's not gonna be someone who's like gonna, hey, please give me a job." So then Brody went to Tony and QT. Cody was like, "Hey, I'll put Vance in Dark Order. I'll take him, like under my wing, like off screen, on screen." So yeah, I did one match with Darby, and then not even a week later, got signed. So I was like, but Brody, as much as QT Cody, or they're like my really good friends, and I don't blame them for this. They weren't, companies so new, they didn't want to put their full stamp of approval on me if like something got fucked up, whatever.
Yeah.
But Brody was the one who stuck his neck out without knowing me, and like saw something in me and was like, I'll take it, I'll take him. So then that's kind of history.
That is, and what a man that he was. But obviously, like there were struggles on the road though. So when you get that opportunity, so you're obviously there, and you've been. I remember in recent interviews you saying you lived in the car for a bit, and obviously,
Mhm.
you had to battle this illness as a child and everything else. When that, I say, call or that meeting occurs where they say, we're signing you to a
Yep.
contract, talk me through that moment for you. What was going through your mind at that point? Was it validation? Was it sort of justification for everything that you did?
It was almost like, I mean, I immediately went to my car and called home. It was
Yeah.
almost like called my mom. I mean, I haven't lived at home for 10 years in the state of Michigan. And I've talked to my mom every single day on the phone.
Mm.
Big mama's boy. And I called her immediately because she knew all the shit I was going through. Like,
Yeah.
when I was living out of my car and I was legit like homeless, I didn't tell her till years later because she would have been really worried. So that was a really cool feeling to be sitting in like the same car with a job now, like,
Mm.
so it was a very like glad I didn't give up moment. And as the weird thing is, like, through all that shit, like, having nowhere to live, the surgeries, like, this adversity, because I tore my both ACLs um 2 weeks before WWE tryouts, both years. So 2017 I had a tryout with WWE, tore my ACL 2 weeks before, and then the 2019 same thing, I had a tryout with WWE lined up and tore my other ACL. So I was pretty bummed, and was like, man, maybe this isn't for me. But I snapped out of that really quick. So like I said, maybe I was just too confident for my own good, but there was never a day that passed where I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, I knew I was going to, and was very determined. So yeah, when I got signed, it was a cool personal moment to call my mom and tell her the news.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to, with people that have got Crohn's, as you say, at 10 years old, is like, hey, look, I've,
Yeah,
I battled, and I did that. I battled the ACLs, the homelessness, and hey, look, I'm here. I'm an
yeah,
AEW superstar now, and it
yeah.
is possible. You touched on WWE, so I just want to quickly bring up, did you take on the War Raiders
I
NXT?
did. Yep.
Yes, you
So
did.
I did like an extra match there, which a million people do, whatever. And then I came through the curtain, and I forgot who pulled me aside. Maybe Canyon or maybe Robbie Brooks had someone. They're like, "Hey, we normally don't do this, but we want to give you a legit tryout in whatever month they told me." And I was stoked.
Mhm.
And I remember at that point I was still living it with QT and went back to his place, and I'm all pumped about it. And I remember filling out all the forms, and then 2 weeks before that I tore my other ACL, and I was like, "Oh my God, this sucks."
Yeah, I can imagine, but worked out in the end, right?
It
Because
worked out, and I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. Very,
it
very
certainly
big believer in
does.
that.
There was one other match that I wanted to bring up because did you? I'm pretty sure it was the first, or it may have aired on the 1st of January. I don't know. Teaming with Sean Spears against the Gun, Austin and
Oh
Billy
yeah,
Gunn.
yeah.
Was
That
it?
was like, I think that was like a true dark match.
Yeah.
That was like it wasn't even on like YouTube or anything. That was just in a
No.
straight dark, and that was January 1st. I
Mm.
remember it was January 1st because I was hungover from New Year's Eve, and that was more to get a look at Austin,
Oh,
because
okay.
Austin was, I don't think he wasn't signed yet. So then
Mm.
he got signed off that match, I believe. I could be wrong, I believe so. So that was like to get a good look at Austin. And at that point, I didn't know Austin at all. Obviously, I was a huge fan of Billy. Billy's my favorite wrestler of all time. So I was like, this is really cool to wrestle them. And then, which is cool because now me and Austin are, I mean, really good friends. We used to live in the same building in Florida. Like he's like my boy. So it's cool. Like I was a part of him getting signed with AEW before I was signed. Just to be like part of his journey is always pretty cool.
Does Billy Gunn age? Because
He's such dude. He's such a freak. It's so crazy. Like whenever I see him, I'm like, man, if I make it to how old he is, I hope I look a quarter of that good because he is just a dude. That dude's a stud, like
yeah.
absolute freak.
He is an absolute yeah, stud indeed. We're going to start to wrap up shortly, but before that, there's a couple of bits. You mentioned the roster in
Mhm.
AEW, and I was talking to my friend the other day, and when we were talking about the people that were like out of action, injured, and we're reeling off names, and then we're reeling off names of the people that are there, and it's I don't know. You mentioned, like you said, every match is a banger. I think they've announced this week at the start of the Continental Classic, Carl Fletcher's going against, I think it's Konosuke Takeshita. I think that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
But I mean, you look at that, and honestly, you did say though it does motivate you because I think in some people that don't really want to get anywhere, it could demo. I suppose it could demotivate people in some
sure.
way. But you look at that roster, and, they do say it's where the best wrestle, right? And
Mhm.
I don't really think there's much of an argument against that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, you have like both those guys are real. I mean, I've never worked Kyle, but I mean, he's great. I've worked Takeshita, and I mean, he's so good. And they're both like, they have good size to him and stuff. But I think the one right now who every time he's in the ring really, really amazes me is Bandito.
Yeah.
That dude he is fucking good, man. Like, holy shit, he's good.
He is really good. Another one that I think he's a bit more experienced, but I think he's now finally getting his flowers. Mark Briscoe.
Oh yeah, I've worked him, and I do that guy's. I just love him so much as a person. He's who like that's him, man. That is fucking him. He's awesome.
He really is, and he obviously beating Cole for the TNT
Hmm.
Championship at Full Gear Fight. I mean, getting his flowers. I mean, he was obviously great tag team wrestler as
Yeah.
well with Jay. Um, Just gonna start because you were part of a pack. I say pack now. I said it wrong on the when I was
Yeah.
messaging you. I had
Yeah.
but everyone else. It's obviously the frat house, but there's
Hmm.
predictive text on the phone, and it said
Hmm.
frat pack, and that's more like a musical thing, if I or a
Yep.
rat pack, isn't it,
Yep.
or something like that? It's more like a musical thing. But you obviously ran down in Ring of Honor now, doing
Hmm.
this, and again, you look at Ring of Honor and you look at the people. They obviously Athena's absolutely killing it down
Yeah.
there, champion for God knows how many days now. And you look at there's so much talent even down there
Yeah.
in Ring of Honor. How is it working the Ring of Honor shows now as part of the Frat House?
I love it. Like I said, this is my third like character in AEW, and
Mhm.
all my characters have been so different from the other one. Like
Yeah.
Dark Order, the number 10,
Yep.
cool. I was in a mask, which was challenging because I never wore a mask on the indie, so like that had to be something where I adapt to. And then I do the turn on little Brodie, and I joined
Yep.
LFI, which was awesome because Roosh really brings out like that intensity in you and that side of you. But the main challenge there was, I don't speak Spanish, and
Yeah.
they all do. So when you're in the ring and they're all talking, it's like you got to kind of you know pick up on like the universal wrestling lingo,
Mm.
because that was the biggest challenge working with those guys. Was I don't speak Spanish, which I loved working with them. They're great. And then now the frat house I love because I've known Griff for 8 years, from the
Mm.
indies, and he's young, hungry. Jameson, I knew since the very first time he stepped in a ring in Atlanta, and he's another one, works very, very hard and is like always down to like pitch out ideas and like this and this. And Cole, he's, young, has an awesome look. Cole's like my little brother of the group. Like he always makes a joke. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth, like, and like we have such a good. I love the group that I'm in because we will do anything. Like
Mm.
whatever we're asked to do, we just do it full potential. And you brought this up earlier. You said like the best characters are kind of like um a real life version of yourself, and this is by far the most real life version of myself. I mean, I'm just a college kid who never grew up. Like I don't know if you're super popular with like American football, but it's kind of
Yeah.
like a Rob Gronkowski, Johnny Manziel had a baby, and that's me. Unfortunately, my mom, she hates that I never will grow up, but so and it's fun, man, because you can see it like on screen when it's you. It's just like so much more natural. So I love working with those guys a lot. And like I said, they're just as hungry as I am. We're all real life friends, which helps a bunch. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun right now with this group.
You mentioned Griff Garrison. They're another one that perhaps underrated
Oh
in
my God,
wrestling,
yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah.
I
Very, very
remember
underrated.
he's been there pretty much since the word go, near enough as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Okay.
he got signed very shortly after I did.
Indeed, and we'll see what the future holds. Right, AEW obviously coming over here in the UK. Now, I played this with Bishop Khan on Monday. So one of my co-hosts is Scottish. There was this food on here called haggis, which he
Okay.
didn't like, but she's from Scotland. So, but you're not going to get haggis. But what I'm going to
Okay.
show you is a list of. We're going to show it behind me. I might have to move a little bit because of the way
Okay.
it comes out here. So there's a list of potentially what controversial foods that we have here in the UK. So I'm going to talk about them, give you an idea of what they are. Some of them are pretty much what they say on the tin behind, but
Mhm.
anyway, and you'll find out if you will eat Z food. So I'm going
Okay.
to start 1 second. I'm going to bring it up and just going to wait for my screen to load up. Here we go, and I'm going to give you a food very, very shortly when it goes down on the screen. Here we go. Right. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. This is
Okay.
Marmite. Okay.
Yep.
Now, Marmite is basically a spread that you put on bread, but it's formed of a yeast extract.
So it's basically, so isn't bread yeast? Like you're just putting bread spread on bread?
Bread spread on bread. But this is the actual equivocal of love or hate because its slogan is either you love it or you hate it. So
Yeah,
that's
I
why.
I think I would hate it. It kind of looks like wood stainer.
Yeah, you can just see it there. I'm not even going to tell you what it looks like from my side, but yeah, it I don't like it. So there you go. That's
Yeah, that's a
that's
no
uh,
no for me.
that's a no from Preston. It's a no from me as well. I can assure you. I've smelt the fucking thing. It's bad enough. Right. Okay. Now I like these, but now behind me, you will see this is a Scotch egg.
Yeah, I've had it. I like those. Those are good.
Well done.
Those are
I
good.
don't. So that is for everyone that doesn't know, in American viewers, that is a boiled egg in between sausage meat and
Yeah, that's
breadcrumbs.
awesome.
That is, yeah, it certainly is. I actually now in some of the supermarkets or over here, they do different types of Scotch eggs now. They get ones with chili in there, ones like an all day breakfast. So they
Yeah,
do a
yeah.
little bit like everything now. Everything's got so many different flavors to it. Okay. All right. Let's try this. Right. This is a deep fried Mars bar. Do you know what Mars bar is?
Oh, Mars bar, like the candy?
Yes.
Oh, 100% I'd eat
Chocolate.
that. Yeah,
chocolate.
I'd eat that. Hell yeah.
It is. They've been going around. It's normally in Scotland, funny enough. But I had my first deep fried Mars bar a
Yeah.
few years ago. So it is literally a deep fried chocolate bar for
We
those
we
people.
have we have deep fried Oreos here. I
Oh,
love
there you go.
those. Those
There
are
you
good.
there you go. So that gives you an idea. Yes, they are very rest. I actually had a deep fried cheeseburger once as well.
No shit.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
good. I would do that.
yeah. It's very. It adds an interesting. This is ridiculous. Okay, so I'm gonna move. I'm gonna duck
Hmm.
my head.
Hmm.
That is a stargazy pie. It is a pilchard pie.
What is it? What is in the is that
Fish.
those fish heads?
That is.
Ew. Ew. Hell no. Hell no.
Absolutely disgusting, right? I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine if anyone that eats that needs testing and probably put down. Anyway, the last one on this list. This isn't a controversial food, but it's a food that's got a few ingredients, and the controversy is what way do you eat it? This is a scone. Now, this
Okay.
scone, I'll move, has got
Yep.
cream and jam or
Yeah.
jelly.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
What way would you do it? Would you do the scone with the jelly first and then the cream, or the cream and the jelly?
Jelly first.
Jelly first. So pretty much like that. Okay,
Yeah,
that is
yeah, exactly like that. Because it looks like those Danishes, like
yeah.
American Danish, and it's always the jam or the jelly, and then in the middle is like the glob of the cream, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would do it like that. So the opposite of how I would do like a peanut butter and jelly, because peanut butter and jelly, I put the jelly second, but for this, I
Okay.
would I would put the jelly first for sure.
Brilliant. Well, that wraps up, and I agree. By the way, that's actually quite interesting because it lives over there. It's quite prominent in Cornwall, like I've said before, where my family live. But look, we're going to start wrapping up now, Preston. As we do, look, 2025 is finishing. I've just mentioned the Continental Classic. So obviously, you unfortunately didn't make it this time. But is 2026, is it an ideal goal that you'd like to be in the Continental Classic next year?
Of course, man. I mean, oh, dude, I wouldn't say no to anything. I would love to be a part of everything AEW, Ring of Honor, every show ever, man. I live and breathe this stuff, and I love it. I'm grateful for the company I work for, and yeah, there's no complaints. But the tournament that they came out with the names is gonna be, it's gonna be pretty killer.
Yes, it is. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. That's this week. This starts this
Yep.
coming week on Dynamite. Hey, look, if you want a championship, by the way, and you're ever touring the UK, we have our championship on the scene in the UK. So that is always an opportunity for you to take some
Yeah,
gold
sign me
back
up.
back home. That'd be interesting. But guys in the UK, if you don't know already, well, you should know. AEW is Dynamite is on a Friday over here in the UK.
Mhm.
So TK, when you do renew your contract with ITV4, if you can bump that up a day or so, that would be great. So we can watch it on a Thursday or anything, because basically it's technically Thursday when it airs over here if you watch it live, or if you ever get a chance to watch it live because of the time difference. Collision is on a Tuesday over here in the UK. So again, when you're renewing that, closer to Saturday would be amazing. But the good thing about it is over here in the UK, if you don't even have to have a subscription to watch AEW. You just need a Freeview TV, and it's there on ITV4 for you, or for your viewing pleasure, should we say? But obviously in America, it is on streaming on Max, which is a great thing. And Dynamite is tonight at time of recording on a Wednesday. Now on a Saturday is normally Collision, but that does tend to change depending on AEW's diary and if there's pay-per-views coming up like World's End on the 27th of December. So just basically check out TK's tweets, because he will tell you if Collision is changing days or times. Make sure you do, because they've recently done a whole batch together ahead of Full Gear as well. So make sure you check out AEW, because if you love wrestling, in exciting wrestling, then that is the brand for you to watch. But Preston, it's been great talking to you. I really do appreciate you taking your time out of your day to talk to me. Look, we're going to be watching you on Ring of Honor. We hope to see you again on AEW, and of course, over here in the UK. Hopefully, you can get some tours going over here in the UK and work some of the UK scene in 2026.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me, and I would love to go to the UK and win that title you were talking about.
The Turnbuckle Championship currently held by a Luna, but that can all change in February. But that's for another show. Anyway, as we wrap up with All Elite Wrestling, I'd like to thank Preston Vance for his time. Thank you all for your time. And of course, everybody, until next time, stay elite, stay safe, and good night.